Hi, friends. All right, so you guys have just watched one of the Passover stories. So now we're going to read another one of the Passover stories. And while you're listening, I want you to compare and contrast, or basically think about how are the stories the same? How are they different? And one of those ways is how does the wording look different? Do the actual letters look different? Are they bigger? Are they smaller? Is there more of them? Is there less of them? While you're also looking at it, I want you to think about how the story makes you feel. Does it make you feel more worried? Does it make you feel excited? Does it make you feel scared? While we're reading the story, I want you to think about those things, but especially pay attention to how you feel about this story, all right? So this is the story of Passover. The story of Passover begins more than 3,000 years ago when Jacob and his family settled in Egypt. Jacob was called Israel, and his family were called the children of Israel. They were also called the Hebrews because of the language they spoke. Many years had passed, and Jacob and his children had all gone away. To Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, the children of Israel were outsiders. He was afraid that one day they would rebel. To control them, he made them slaves. He forced them to do hard work without being paid, without having breaks or any time off. They were hurt, and some of them were even sent away. So you can see some of them were hurt. And Pharaoh was not very nice. When someone's a slave, they're forced to work a lot, and they don't have a lot of choices in what they do. So they can't say, I need a break, I need water, I have to stop. They have to just keep on going. The wise men of Egypt told the Pharaoh that one day a Hebrew boy would be born who would lead his people against Egypt. They couldn't tell him which child it would be, so Pharaoh decreed that every newborn boy must be gotten rid of. One boy was saved. Does anyone remember his name from last year? At first, his mother hid him. Then, when he grew too big to hide, she placed him in a small basket. She put the basket in a river. The baby's sister Miriam hid nearby to see what would happen. A princess, the Pharaoh's daughter, found the baby. She named him Moses and planned to raise him as her own child. So Moses is one of the characters in the story. And if you guys were with me in the school year, we remember that characters are the people in the story. So now we have three main characters. We have Pharaoh, who is not very nice. We have Moses, the one Hebrew boy who was left. And we have Miriam, who's Moses' real sister. Miriam ran to her. Should I get you someone to help you with your baby? Yes, the princess said. Miriam brought the baby's mother to actually work in the palace. Moses was adopted by the princess, but he always knew, he was Jewish. When he was a young man, he saw an Egyptian hurt a slave. Hurt them really badly. Moses hurt the Egyptian in return, and then he ran away. So sometimes when you see someone hurting someone you love, or one of your friends, you hurt them back. I know I've had friends who, when they're getting really mad at each other, they push the other friend, and even though they don't mean to hurt them, they do it anyways. Moses settled far from Egypt. He married and worked as a shepherd. One day, while Moses was watching his sheep, he saw a burning bush. There were flames, but the bush wasn't harmed. Moses, Moses, a voice called from the bush. Yes, here I am. God spoke to Moses from the burning bush. He told Moses to lead the Jewish people out of Egypt. As you can see, there's the burning bush, and the bush isn't being harmed. Because usually when something is on fire, it goes away, right? We burn it and it turns to ash. This wasn't. Moses and his older brother Aaron went to the Pharaoh. They asked him to let the children of Israel go free. Pharaoh refused. He forced the Jewish people to work even harder Moses and Aaron warned him that if he didn't let the Hebrews go, the waters of Egypt would run red. Pharaoh refused, and the waters ran red. And that's the first of the plagues, right? That was the first plague to strike Egypt. There were 10 frogs covered the land. A thick cloud of lice, those are like itchy bugs in your hair, swarmed over Egypt. More Nicole does not like lice. Animals ran wild. The Egyptians' cattle became terribly sick. Their cows became sick, and the beasts, wild beasts, were running through the streets. Oy, oy, oy. Painful boils, which are like skin sores, like cuts, broke out on the skins of the Egyptians. Huge hailstones mixed with fire fell on the land. So remember, like we read in the other book, this was every time Moses would go to Pharaoh and he would say, please let my people go. And Pharaoh kept shouting, no, no, no. And so Moses would say, please. And every time Pharaoh said no, God would deliver another plague. Now, I'm going to stop right here. Why do you guys think Pharaoh should have freed the slaves? I want you to think about that. A swarm of locusts attacked Egypt. It was as dark as night in the middle of the day. Then came the 10th and final plague. And before they started the plague, Moses went to Pharaoh and said, please, please, this one is going to be really bad. Moses said, Pharaoh, you have to let the Jewish people go. You have to, you have to, you have to, or else something really bad is going to happen. And Pharaoh still said, no, no, no. Because Moses didn't really want anyone to get hurt, right? He wanted people to be safe. That's why he wanted the slaves to be free, was he wanted people to be safe and happy. So he didn't want to have the 10th plague. But Pharaoh was being cruel. And sometimes when people are being mean, we have to stop them. One by one, the firstborn Egyptian children all got sick. They only visited the homes of Egyptians. They completely went away from the children of Israel, or the Jewish people. The Pharaoh was frightened. He had an older child too. He called for Moses and Aaron. Leave now, he told them. Go quickly before everyone gets sick. The Jewish people left that very night. The next day, the Pharaoh had a change of heart, and he and his army chased after the former slaves. That means he said that they could go, and then he changed his mind. He said, yeah, you can go, but then he changed his mind. He lied to them. How do you guys feel when someone lies to you? It doesn't feel very good when someone lies to me either. The Pharaoh's soldiers had horses, and their chariots were getting closer and closer to the children of Israel. The Red Sea was in front of them, and the soldiers were behind them. They seemed trapped. God told Moses to lift his stick and to spread his hands over the sea. Moses did, and the sea divided. That means split. The Red Sea split right down the middle. And if you split the ocean down the middle, at the bottom is still ground, so they could walk right on through. The Jewish people walked through the sea on dry land. The Pharaoh's army followed them. When the soldiers were in the middle of the sea, Moses raised his stick again, and the waters flooded back together. The Egyptians were washed back to their other shore, and the Jewish people were finally free. How good do you think that felt? How do they look? How happy are they to finally be free? How would you feel if your whole life you've been told, work, 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 work. And you could never rest. You could never relax. You could never have snacks. You could never have breaks. And finally you were free. I know I would feel so good and relieved. On Passover, Jewish people all over the world celebrate their freedom from slavery and their beginnings as their great nation. I'm going to show you this page one more time. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed it. Now I want you to see if you can re-listen to our video from Thursday and listen to this story again and see what's similar, see what's different. Can you see if all of the plagues are in both books? Can you see if there's different feelings in each book? If you have any thoughts, feel free to email me or send me a message or however you want to contact me.